Brad, it's a little boring for us not being in the postseason watching this World
Yeah.
Series. If you're watching it, I'm kind of paying attention to it, but not as closely as I would generally. Yeah, and maybe if we get to a game 7, then maybe I will pay attention pretty closely. But how you doing after, we've been sitting here for a couple weeks with no baseball. What's going on?
It's good. I set up a TV in the garage. I've had this TV for a long time, just kind of sitting around. I shuffled TVs. You remember we had a picture of it a while
Mhm.
back where I was hanging TVs in the house. So I had this extra, like, I don't know, like 40-inch, 42-inch. So I hung it in the garage. And then we have the direct TV service where you can you have the wireless boxes, so it's great. So I put a couple extra cables out there. So yesterday I was out there setting up for Halloween, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I just unplugged the box, plugged it in out there. I mean, 20 seconds later I got TV out in the garage, and did the same thing on Saturday. I had to do a little work in the garage. I sent you a picture of drinking some beer out in the
Oh
garage and
yeah.
watching the World Series. I mean,
Heck yeah.
it's fun. It's baseball. It's exciting, the crowds and everything like that. So I've been enjoying it for the most part, more for our friend Harveen. I texted him last night after the Duval Grand Slam, and they were up 4-0 in the first, and I go, "Hey, it's really gonna happen," and I think I jinxed it. So
Oh man. Um
he didn't talk to me the rest of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should probably talk about it, right? Because last we left people was at the beginning of the World Series,
Yeah,
and so it goes out. Braves win game 1, Astros come back, win game 2, then they go to Atlanta, and the Braves win the first 2 games, and so they're up 3-1. And yesterday they have a chance to end it. And like you said, Adam Duvall hits a grand slam in the very first inning, and I'm just like, oh, it's off for the races. This
yeah.
is how it's going to be. The Braves are that team this year. What did they win what did they win? Like 86 games or 84 games or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, yeah, 88, 89, something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was a really low number where you're thinking, and the Giants with their 107 and the Dodgers with their 106. And here comes this
88. Yeah, you're right. 88 games.
88. Here comes this little Braves team just kind of chugging along and, doing what they do, waiting for the big boys to knock each other off and then, pick up the scraps and get themselves into the World Series. And then here they are beating up on American League's second best team, right? I guess you can, I don't know. I'm never convinced with the Rays. They could win 125 games and I would still go, they're the Rays. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
So then all of a sudden, I look back at the score. Houston scores 2 in the second.
Yeah.
Then 2 in the third. Braves add 1 in the third. So they're still up 5-4. And so it's the 5th inning, and it's kind of make or break for Houston. Like, are they gonna lie down here? What's gonna happen? They score 3 runs in the 5th. And like it just boggles my mind and some of this is in our World Series championship wins, the starting pitching, like you never saw the Giants lose a game 9-5, right? They were
Right.
always there were maybe a game or two where they gave up, a decent amount of runs. I think there was a game, the game before game 7. So game 6 in 14, I think they gave up like 7 runs or something. But
Yeah.
I was just like, my expectation is, oh, you get a lead, you shut it down, and that's not what happened here. They get 3 runs, so they're up 7-5, and then they tack on 2 more. And do you know who closed the game for Atlanta, throwing the last 3 innings of the game, giving up 2 runs and then while doing it?
Was it the great Will Smith?
No, it's the great
No.
Drew Smiley.
Oh, yeah, I did see. Okay, that's right. I did see him in there. You were talking about last night's game, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at this point, it was just the fact that they're burning through so many arms.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, like we need a guy who can go a little longer, and who cares if he gives up 5 hits as we're trying to come back in this game. It's only 7-5, and he comes in the 7th inning, so you're still down 2. It's like, nope, we're just going to keep throwing him. He's given up a run in the 7th and the 8th. Oh, well, we don't have the arms to throw these games because we go through our bullpen so much. But yeah, so 9-5, Astros take the game. So they come back, not today, they come back Tuesday for Game 6 and back in Houston, and then Game 7 would be on Wednesday if it happens. But yeah, I mean, not to say that who knows when it comes to championship series when you don't have like the big market teams. Like feels like if the Dodgers or the Red Sox would be in it, like more people would be talking about it.
Right.
But you know, the Braves are a very fun story. The Astros are the villains. Technically, you need a good villain.
Yeah, still.
And I mean, the numbers are up too. Look, it looks like at least compared to last year, the numbers are definitely up. I just don't feel like a lot of people outside of the people I know who talk baseball even care right now. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Well, and so I want to ask you a wrestling question here. So are the Astros considered? I don't know the definition of a heel.
Yeah.
So are they the heels, or are they just the villains, or is that one and the same when it
They're the
comes to
same.
wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
same
the
thing.
same.
All right.
They're the bad guys. They're
Okay.
Roddy Piper.
Okay, because I thought a heel was more of, and you can call the Astros the heels too, because they're more of like we cheated, but but we're gonna show you
Yeah.
that we're great and we're awesome, and blah blah blah. The whole Carlos Correa post thing after all of that. Everybody, I don't think many people like the guy, and everybody thinks he's going to go to the Yankees, and I think that's a perfect fit because
Yeah.
nobody likes the Yankees. He goes to the Yankees, everybody's just mad, and I think that's going to be a good fit.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in these last two games. I'd wanted to see the Astros win just because of Dusty,
Mhm.
but there is a nice little story with the Braves. Like they are kind of like if you just look at it from a wins and losses standpoint, how many wins are they behind? They're at least like 15 wins behind the Astros.
Yeah.
So there's something there with them that I think, if they do win it, it'll be a nice little story. But I don't know. Football's just so big, and basketball season started, and it just seems like baseball. People are rather than it like, oh, great, the World Series. It's like, oh yeah, that means the baseball season's almost over. Like that's kind of the
Right.
feeling that I'm getting.
I am a little bit most of my friends are baseball fans. That's just kind of how it happened.
Right.
So it's hard. And then like tonight, so Monday night you got Monday Night Football, but it is a garbage game. It's the Chiefs and the Giants. I don't think anybody outside of Chiefs and Giants fans are really going to care about this one a whole lot. And
Right.
unless you're playing fantasy, then there's a lot of fantasy implications on the Chiefs side of that, but not the Giants side for the most part. So then you get a game like this, and so I'm anticipating tomorrow night. I'm excited about tomorrow night because are the Braves going to close it out? Are the Astros going to push it to a game 7? So I think most baseball fans are probably pretty into this, but I know what you mean. And there are some fans that are, just Giants fans. Like they just
Right.
watch Giants games. They follow the Giants. They don't care much about any other type of baseball. So yeah, and how do you fix that going forward? I mean, football is an anticipatory sport because you play once a week. So your team wins the week before and they looked awesome. Well, you can't wait to see them the next week do the same thing. Or
Right.
if they lose, you can't wait to see them turn it around. Baseball, it's every day. I mean, we talk about this all the time. You lose 10-0 last night. Well, we got a game tonight. We got our ace going, so we'll fix that. So there's a lot of more just kind of even keel to it. Basketball, I think I would feel is kind of the same, right? I mean, because you like the Warriors started out pretty hot, and so you're kind of anticipating the next game because you have a couple days in between.
Right.
But with baseball, you just don't have that. It's just kind of the everyday kind of lulls you into the sport. There's no like major excitement, anticipation. There's a day off for travel and that's it. And then it's every night there's a game. So I don't know. I don't know how to change that. I don't want any breaks. I think they did it a few years back, right? During the playoffs where, you'd have game 1 and then a break and then 2 and 3 and then a break and then 4. I mean, it was ridiculous, whatever it was that they were doing. And we were finishing the World Series like November 12th or 13th or something. And it was just dragging on too much. So, yeah.
This is probably a conversation for another show, but I do wonder if baseball has just become a localized sport and is not that national sport anymore. Because like you and I, out of the 162 Giants games, like how many of those did you at least watch an inning or two on the TV? Probably like 75-80%, right?
Probably more.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been doing it for years and years and years, just because, when the kids were younger, I'd always have it on. And there's times where I'll go through it, and this is probably my broadcasting background. There's time, and I love Kruk and Kipe, and I love John Miller, and I love Fleming, but there are plenty of times, especially this season, I have the Giants game on, but I'm listening to music and doing the dishes at the same time because I mean the games start at 6:45 and they end at 9:45, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So again, it's hard. It's hard to kind of lock into that 9 innings of baseball every single day. It's near impossible if you have a family, if you have other things going on. So
And I guess it would say something to our fandom to where we were watching so hard at the end that at the end of game 5, we were just like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Like you were physically ill.
I was, yes. It was a tough season for the fans, if that tells you anything. It was. I mean, my week-long travel the week before had something to do with it, but it was. I'm getting old, Garrett. I'm getting old, man. I'm starting to kind of feel it. Yeah.
All right, let's hit the intro video. We'll come back talking about what we're drinking on this show.
Bedrosian throws to Sandberg, and the pitch is grounded to second base. Thompson has it, throws to first. It's over. 27 years of waiting have come to an end. The Giants have won the pennant.
All right, so what are you drinking there as we get started?
I am sipping on something really warm and nice. It's something I've been wanting to try for a while. So it's from the Wild Turkey family. It is the Wild Turkey bottle of Long Branch, and it's very good. You can get this at Costco. I think it was like $32.99 here in Reno. But it is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It's oak and Texas Mesquite charcoal refined.
Wow.
And it clocks in at 43%. So quick math, 86 proof. Look at that. I'm pretty good doubling numbers. But it's really good. So I enjoy it. With this one, I enjoy with one single tiny ice cube. I don't do the big ball ice cube on this one because I like to slow drink this one. And if I did that with that gigantic ball, then it would just be water towards the end.
Yeah.
But it is warm. It is great for this time of year. I don't know if you can see the weather back here.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. In the high Sierras here, we get about an hour and a half of fall. And then it goes away like it's summer and then it's fall, all the leaves drop, and then all of a sudden it's winter. Although it's not too bad right now. I think it's 55 degrees outside, so it's not awful, but it's windy and chilly. So this is the time of year to break out the nice warm stuff and kind of just sip on it. So yeah, what do you got?
So I'm drinking the same thing that I drank last time, which is that the Kentucky Mule that I enjoyed so much. It was my last can of the ginger beer or whatever. So I was like, I'll just do it again. But it is a hefty drink, as you can tell. This is a very hefty drink here. So no, but it's great and it is very tasty. And if you are somebody who doesn't like all the sugar and you want to turn to something that is, I guess the Zevia. I don't know how the Zevia soda is made, but stevia is a plant technically. But some people are pro stevia, some people aren't as much pro stevia. But I dig it. So
yeah, we grew some on the side of the house a couple years back, and Denise took it, mashed it, did some different stuff with it, and then actually made a syrup out of it.
Oh wow!
So we were putting that in drinks at one point too.
Nice.
So speaking of sugar, did you eat a lot of the children's Halloween candy, or were you doing what a lot of people do? And here's one for this trick or treater, here's one for me. And
okay, so this is actually a great segue because I wanted to ask about how Halloween is going, but since you specifically asked about candy, I can generally stay away from that kind of stuff. Now, Crystal is more of a fan of like breads and such. And so
Yeah,
if bread is around, like bread and butter together is just one of the greatest things on earth. So
yes.
sometimes I will have some. Generally, I wouldn't. I think I probably went a couple of years with barely having any bread whatsoever. But so I look at sweets in the same way, which is like if I'm shopping for myself, I know not to buy them,
Mm,
then I don't need it.
yeah,
But, you know, if they're there, then I'll be way more tempted and I will say I'll give myself a B plus in restraint.
excellent.
There was a, when we put the bowl out, I was like, "Oh, Reese's cup. I haven't had Reese's cup in forever." Grabbed one, ate it, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this candy in forever. Mr. Goodbar, huh?" Ate that. And then what happened is, so here's the worst thing is we live in Sunnyvale,
Mm.
and last year was the first year that we lived here. We actually, no, I take that back. We moved in on November 1st.
Oh, okay.
So we weren't even here for Halloween technically. But the area is a little bit older. Like the people who live around here are a little bit older. And so I was kind of wondering, are we going to get trick or treaters? But I thought, you know what? It's also I, I wouldn't consider it a rich neighborhood, but it's fairly well off. Like there, apples close by,
Oh, yeah.
nice big houses. So I was like, oh, people probably think that, oh, these people will have something. Nobody was trick or treating here last night. We had
Wow.
one all night,
Whoa.
one person. So we had
Oh,
all this
that's a
candy
bummer.
and one person. So I'm sure when the kids got back, they're like, oh, this is all for us now. We can have it in our things. So yeah.
Look at all the stuff that mom and dad went out and got for us. Trick or treating on their own.
Because you do you decorate the house and stuff, right?
Yeah, and I don't do it leading up to because we still are running the sprinklers and stuff. I'm actually going to be shutting. You guys don't do this in the Bay Area, but we actually shut down our sprinklers in the last week of October, first week of November. Shut down the system, drain it. Lawns go dormant, they turn brown. Spring comes, they pop right back to green. It actually doesn't die, they just go dormant.
Oh wow, that's
And
cool.
so yeah, it's pretty nice. It saves a lot on the water bill, I'll tell you that, during the
Mhm.
winter. Don't have to mow the lawn or any of that stuff. But we have so I have this big Jack Skellington blow up thing that's like, I don't know, 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall. So I like to put that out on the lawn, but I do it the day of. And then I have something I created last year called a candy shoot. I should have sent you a picture because you could have popped it up for everybody to see, but maybe we'll put it on our social media. But it's this, I take a ladder and I take a big tube, and we did it for COVID last year to kind of keep distance. And it's about 8 or 9 feet away. So the kids come up, put their buckets at the bottom of the tube, and it's a big, scary looking face and stuff. And then you drop the candy in it, and it comes down the nose or mouth or whatever it is and pops into their thing. And I have this really cool, like, Halloween soundtrack, and we play all this cool music and stuff. Some of it is like pop music with like monster themes. And so we probably got anywhere from like 70 to 90 kids last night.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, and it was fun. And it was funny too, because there's 4 houses in the cul-de-sac. And everybody had their lights on. Everybody was passing out candy, but people would walk by the cul-de-sac, see our setup because we set it up at the bottom of the street, bottom of the sidewalk. So they would come in, go to our place, and then leave. So I started having to tell the kids and the parents, I go, hey, everybody here is open. So
Yeah, yeah.
come into the cul-de-sac. Don't just hit us, hit everybody.
Right,
And then head out. So
Right.
yeah, so it's fun. We like to do that. And the kids are older now. So they went out for they went out together, which was great, a group of friends. And they were gone for, I don't know, half hour and came back with a bunch of candies. So,
All right. So what were the costumes?
well, for just the costumes around here.
Or just your kids?
Oh, the kids? Oh, I mean, the 15-year-old, it was a lazy costume. She actually didn't even know what she was going to do. And then she comes out, and she came out about 7 o'clock last night and goes, hey, Dad, can I borrow a tie and a shirt and a hat? I'm going to be a frat boy. I'm like, okay, I guess. And so her and her two friends dressed up as frat boys. It was like the very last minute thing. And then the younger one, the 13-year-old, her and her friends, they thought about their costumes and they were all different Care Bears. So that was like,
that's cool.
Yeah. So
Because
that was
Care Bears are old school.
yeah, they're old school, but they're still, I mean, you can go on Amazon, get a costume for every
Nice.
single one. So she was Share Bear. And then the other ones, so
like
they went out and had a
like
good time, but it was, the 15-year-old just, she was going to put a sheet on and cut 2 holes. And I'm like, little more effort if you're going to go get candy from people, please.
Okay. So here's a question, because the 2 twins, they are 12. So I was kind of joshing with them yesterday, going like, oh, last trick-or-treating ever. Nobody trick-or-treats when they're 13. And I was just kind of teasing them.
Yeah.
But then I did wonder, I was like, okay, I think the last time I went trick-or-treating, I was maybe in the 7th or the 8th grade.
Yeah,
but right. like when do you stop, or today does it like not matter? We're just gonna have fun.
I saw kids older than my 15-year-old coming around.
Yeah.
And as long as they're respectful, as long as you're going out at that age and you're respectful and you're nice and you're thanking people and not causing issues, then go till you're 18, 19. I don't really care.
Sure.
Because the people who were coming up to the candy shoot were having a blast. They were taking pictures in front of it and just very respectful, very nice. Nobody was coming up and, cussing or doing any obscene stuff as an older kid.
Sure.
But we probably had some 16, 17-year-olds coming around just having a good time. So yeah, I think for me it was probably 8th grade, maybe 9th. I don't remember, but maybe I was short.
It was 9th. I don't remember.
I was short. I could get away with it. It didn't matter.
All right, here's this is an old guy moment here. I'm going to create one for you.
Yes.
Do you know what this costume is?
Well, those are Minecraft characters of some sort, right? I mean,
there you go. I'm so impressed.
Those are Minecraft blocks that they're holding, but what are they in particular?
I don't know. All I know is they want it to be Minecraft, and so their dad put together these uniforms. But so they were
really cool.
So it looks like there was one main problem. So you see the little tubes where their arms come out.
Yes.
So I guess those were a little awkward to wear around the neighborhood for more than 10 minutes. So they had to eventually take those off. And then so my stepdaughter had a similar one, but she didn't wear the whole getup. She just decided, well, as long as I wear the box on my face, that counts. And so she just wore like whatever else she wanted. But I guess then that was also a little rough because the eyes, there wasn't enough room for the eyes. So they were like tripping over small kids and animals and stuff. So, but for the picture, I thought it was an excellent costume.
That is cool. And the boxes that they're holding are the candy collection bags.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's cool. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's very creative and
and I love video game themed stuff. I saw a little Sonic the Hedgehog walking around last night, and there was another guy. I had no idea what the heck he was, and they go, "Oh, he's from Fortnite." I'm like, man, couldn't tell you.
No, but I'm very impressed at the Minecraft.
Yes,
very
impressed. I know Minecraft. I know Roblox, and a couple of the other ones. What's the other one? Animal Crossing. I know all about that one because the little one's into all that. So,
all right on. Let's get to some stuff with the Giants. Tommy La Stella had surgery on his Achilles.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's going to be out for 4 months. So this isn't the scary basketball injury that happens a lot, which is where the Achilles tendon ruptures.
Right.
Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, Dominique Wilkins, they've all gone through it. And it's really only until Klay Thompson for the Warriors just recently, only until I would say the last 5 years has it been to the point of where it's just not like a career killer. Like I know when Dominique hurt his, or when he tore his and had to get surgery on it, he was already near like the later stages of his career, but it's like zapped him of all his athleticism really. Yeah. And then Kobe also at the end of his career, he dealt with it, I guess, okay, but was never the players before. KD's done excellent with it. He's just a different kind of beast, I guess. But this isn't that. This is just As far as we know, it was a nagging Achilles, so he had surgery on it, be out for 4 months, which would have him coming back in the middle of spring training. So let's say, even let's say they're a little bit more conservative, and maybe he's kind of on the injured list to start the year. It does look like once the year is about to begin that he should be good to go.
I think the most important thing for Tommy La Stella in an injury like this is when can he swing the bat? Because if he can start swinging the bat before spring training, that will help with timing and everything else. Fielding will happen. That's just kind of one of those things. I would think. Now, which heel was it?
I don't know, because at some
I don't
point
think
during
I've
the
ever
season,
seen.
both of them were like nagging him.
Yeah, so
And
that's why I was curious. And it was his left, right? During the playoffs was his main issue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a left-handed hitter, I mean, that's your back foot. That's that's not your coming down on foot. That's not your landing foot. So hopefully if he can start swinging a bat like a month or so before spring training, I think that would help him along the way. He missed a lot of time with an injury this past season. Never quite became the Tommy La Stella that was advertised. So this is kind of a tough break for him.
Yeah.
But I expect him to. He seems like the type of guy. He's a gamer. I think he'll be ready.
Well, he signed a multi-year deal, so
Yeah.
this wasn't something where, he's only signs the 1-year deal and then he's injured on his way out. It affects free agency. Nope. He's back with us. So they're going to invest in him, I'm sure, and get him back up to speed, because they're going to need him. Like we saw, unless they go out and sign, Marcus Simeon or somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
Who can just take over the position.
Sure.
Unless they do that, it's probably going to be similar to what they did last year with La Stella and Solano and Dubon and all these guys who were there. They didn't really have one person say, "This is my job." They had a multiple of guys who
And
like,
Estrada. I mean, at some point it was we're like 4 or 5 different guys there.
He may be the guy, right? He may
Yeah.
be the guy who they go, okay, we want you to win the job, and La Stella, we're going to move you all around because you can play so many different positions.
Yeah, let's say he can play 110 games at second base. I think the Giants would be more than happy with that. 110 games, 115 games at second base, and have to plug in the rest of the time. That'd be fantastic. Then you have a true second baseman. But again, as a left-handed hitter, and the Giants love their platoons. So, it's hard to say. There's so much offseason left to go. Actually, It hasn't even started yet, technically.
Okay, so another piece of news that just came out today is that the Giants are going to lose their hitting coach, Donnie Ecker. He is going to join the Texas Rangers to work as a bench coach and an offensive coordinator. I thought we only had those in football.
When I saw that today, too, I thought, what the heck? I've never heard them call that position offensive coordinator. But I guess that's maybe the Giants invented something here with the gigantic offensive coaching staff and the gigantic pitching coaching staffs. Maybe there's an offensive coordinator and a, what do you call it, pitching? I guess just pitching coordinator, right? You can't call that a defensive coordinator. That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. So what did Ecker do with the Giants that made him so attractive? I'm reading from the KBR report that Giants did a couple different things, like their batting practice was a little bit more game speed. So not as much, I guess you would say, throw it right down the pipe so we can hit as many home runs in batting practice as possible.
Yeah.
Visual simulation for preparation. Also, what was the other thing that I saw? I guess it was just the fact that I guess he worked pretty closely with Lamont Wade and Brandon Belt, and those guys had career years, and he also helped Brandon Crawford adjust his swing a bit. So, those are pretty impressive things if you were the one who is being credited for that. So, And you know, I would love to tell you that, oh, you know what, you know who's out there waiting for us to bring them in is like this, you know, this hitting coach from XYZ. Like, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure the Giants know. I'm sure they have a list of folks because they have, you know, 35 coaches in the dugout. So
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it too, and obviously they have to fill Ron Wotus's spot as well as third base coach. And Wotus was not just third base coach; he was kind of like, you know, a second bench coach because he'd been a bench coach for so many years. So Kai Correa, I'm sure, learned a ton from Ron Wotus as the seasons went on. So they have to fill that spot as well. But if you're looking at it too, I mean, you've got, you know, a director of hitting is Dustin Lin. You've got a hitting coach in Justin Veal. So I mean, there are coaches that are on the current Giants roster that will probably get that spot, and I think they talked about that as well in the post. Was it the postseason press conference? It was Kapler and Zadie. They did talk about they can fill from within. They have so many coaches, and they're all on the same level in terms of philosophy, and they can reach down to AAA too and do the same thing. AA. I mean, they have so many. I'm sure they're grooming people. As a Rams fan, I'll just throw this out there as a football equivalent. Sean McVay became the youngest coach in NFL history, I believe it was, and every coach that he's had has had on the offensive side has been poached from him at the end of each season. And then he continues to I'll grab this guy. And then that guy goes off to be a head coach too. Yeah. So, and I think the Giants are building something like that here too, where all of a sudden they're going to plug somebody else in and maybe even the offense goes up a notch and they go, oh, okay, well, we had that in our back pocket this whole time too. So I'm not really worried about that type of stuff when it comes to baseball. Hitters get into what it is that they do. They get into their routines. And especially, I mean, you've got Belt, you've got Crawford, you've got Posey, who had the resurgences. And they also learned a lot as time has gone on. And that philosophy is not going to change with the Giants. That's going to stay the same. So they're going to continue on their resurgent for however many more years they can.
So I saw a note in an article by Grant Brisbee, and he thinks the Giants are going to have around $60 million to spend in free agency, probably for like, I don't know, 5 guys or something like that. And so he says it could be even more than 60, but that's what he kind of pegged as the minimum. And what made me think about, which is, you know, what Zadie has done so far is find these diamonds in the rough. And when you can find a guy who no one else is really paying attention to, grab him, plug him in, you're like, oh, he's not any good. We cut him and he's gone.
Yeah.
And you just do that for so many guys. There's like 25 guys that they've probably done that within the last 2 years. And they've even missed on a couple, right? Because Connor Joe was able to play with the Rockies, right? Like he may have been a guy that could have stuck on the Giants for all we know. When you have these high dollar guys, I wonder if I don't know how to explain it, but like he can't like miss as easily. Like he can't just like drag and drop so easily. And so I wonder how conservative they're going to be with some of these guys, knowing that, because like, let's say, you know, I guess if a Simeon is out there and you want him and you pay him, then you just pay him. But if there's other guys who are maybe like $10 or $15 million guys, Zadie might think, you know, I can find a guy that's at $2 million who's comparable. So why spend the 15? I wonder how much of that thought is involved.
No, you bring up a really good point, and that I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks too, because when you look at it, I think the money is going to go to pitching. The Giants really want to shore up that pitching staff and have 3 or 4 just rock solid starters. You know, pitching has changed, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but pitching has changed over the last couple of years, but it was because of the COVID season. Because of that, things were a little different this year. So I think you've got to have those 3 or 4 horses that can get you, 180 to 200 innings would be really, really nice. That's probably a little high. Let's go 160 to 190. But if you have 4 guys that can do that, you pay those guys because those are the guys you want. You don't want your competitors to have those guys. But I think, like you said too, hitting wise, you can stumble on a Yaz, and we say stumble. These guys do so much work. Zadie and his team do so much work to find these guys. So Yaz, Solano, just grabbing them rough. All of these guys, they can do it because they have a database of players. I'm sure that they're looking at, and I'm sure that Vossler hasn't even had really a full chance yet to
Vossler still has options, and he's like, almost as old as us.
Yeah. He's 28. Are you saying I'm 28? I like that. So we still have guys like that Tyro Estrada got a shot this year and he was outstanding, but there's also guys too that you see that are plugged in like that need more at bats. And can the Giants give them those at bats? Probably not. The way they platoon and the way they do things differently, I don't think you can. So then you move them for pitching pieces. You move them for relieving pieces. A great left-hander, a great right-hander here. There's a lot of guys that are in AAA across the major leagues who are being roadblocked from getting to the majors with superstars with, like you said, $20 million contracts sitting in front of them, and you just can't do anything. So you got to move these guys.
And the other thing is, if you're thinking about, we have Ramos in AAA. We have Joey Bart. We have Luciano coming up in a couple years. Do you go in and sign some of these older players for, 5 and 6 year deals, knowing that, you got these other people waiting in the wings, and by the end of that contract, because historically would have been the worst contracts for the Giants, like a Matt Cain 5-year deal where for the first 2 years he was Matt Cain, and then the other 3 he wasn't. Hunter Pence had a similar thing, and so also when you have the money, these longer term deals are there because these players have so much leverage, and that's also something that they have to think about.
Well, and that's an interesting point too, because are the Giants still rebuilding? I honestly think they are. I don't think they've gotten to the point yet where they said, okay, we're satisfied. Yes, we won 107 games. We're going to do that every year. Absolutely not. I don't think this team can do that every single year because technically right now there is no team. I mean, all these guys majority of these guys are free agents. So the Giants are going to lose a lot of players this year. So I think that brings up a good point where you're talking about the minor league system. You need to continue to build these guys. You need to continue to get draft these superstar minor leaguers and build them up to the point where they're being plugged in with veterans who are on 3-year deals. Then, and again, Zadie from the Dodgers wants to do what the Dodgers did. Then you have this cache of minor leaguers that in the middle of a season, you can turn them into a Max Scherzer, and then Max Scherzer wants to be there. And then you sign him to a 5-year deal because Max Scherzer is already proven. He's not a Logan Webb where you weren't sure. Now you're kind of sure, but we still need to see next year to be 100% sure. Scherzer is that. So I think that's what the Giants are still another year or 2 away from getting to that point where then they start selling off the minor leaguers instead of necessarily waiting to have these guys all come up to the majors. They're going to start to be cultivated for big trade chips in the middle of the seasons coming up.
All right. On November 1st, 2021, if I asked you this question, is Chris Bryant on the team in April of 2022? What does your gut tell you right now?
My gut tells me no. Although, I mean, he's one of the like best puzzle piece fits for the Giants going forward because of all the positions he can play. He's the 30 home run guy you talked about last week.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so that's your 30 home run guy, possibly. So I would absolutely love to see him there. But Scott Boras.
Right.
I mean, who even knows if he's going to be signed with the team by April? I don't even know what this offseason is going to look like. December 1st, we could have a lockout. I mean,
Yeah.
we could have a full baseball shutdown, which
Probably going to happen.
It's probably going to happen. So hopefully, and that's, I mean, as it is right now, free agency is already delayed. We've seen the last few seasons, not COVID withstanding, but 19, 18, 17, going back a few years, free agency. I mean, Bryce Harper, when did he sign? Like a week into spring training? I mean, we're getting to that point, and he was a Boris guy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I mean, that not that standing there, but I'm just saying, I don't think he's going to be with the Giants. I think he's going to be, a Yankee.
Hope he's not with the Dodgers.
I was going to say that, but I don't want to say that. Yeah,
well, because it looks like the Dodgers may lose Taylor, right? Like that's
they're gonna lose Taylor. They're gonna lose Seager probably, because they've got Turner for another year or two.
Yeah.
So Chris Bryant is a good fit there. So I mean, because he can play multiple positions. I mean that is your Dodger Giant type of player in Chris Bryant. So it's gonna be a battle if the Giants want to shell that money out. They certainly can. Chris Bryant likes San Francisco. I don't think he was just blowing smoke.
I thought he fit in very well.
Yeah, and I think he legitimately loves the city and loves playing in the ballpark and loves the fans. So I would love to see him back. My gut tells me it's going to be another Bryce Harper where we're going to go down to the wire and then we're going to get our hearts broken and then we're going to not like the guy. I don't want to not like Chris. I'm probably never going to not like Chris Bryant. I mean, he's a really likable dude.
Well, when the Giants traded for him and the playoffs happened, a lot of the Cubs fans, they said, "Oh, we're rooting for the Giants because we just love Chris Bryant so much." So that tells you a lot when the guy leaves and the fan base is just like, oh, we love him so much. We're going to root for the team who now has him. So that tells you how good of a guy he is.
Yeah, and the Giants will pay a little extra for a clubhouse guy. I mean, it's not the Yankees where it's just, hey, biggest name, biggest money on the market. Yeah,
shave your mustache.
Yeah,
cut your hair.
Exactly. Yeah, and he costs this much, but we don't care. Let's go get him. He's not a clubhouse guy. We don't care. Let's go get him. He's the best player at that position.
Yeah,
that works sometimes. It hasn't worked for the Yankees for a long time. So I don't know. The Giants, I think they will pay extra for a clubhouse guy. They may overpay for Chris Bryant, but that's okay. I mean, the amount of positions that he can play, the amount of home runs he's going to hit, his defense is a little rough, but he can play everywhere. Who knows? They may need him at first base coming up. So sorry, I didn't mean to. Belt will be back. I'll just say that now.
There we go.
I think he will.
All right. So we're probably going to end the show a little bit early this week just because we are in those weeks of not a whole lot going on with the Giants. But this is a Giants tangential kind of situation because this guy who is a manager today used to play for the team. I remember when I started watching the Giants, he was backing up Bob Brenly. His name is Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
Manager of the A's. And the A's did something very interesting, which is Bob Melvin. There's an opening in San Diego. And they were like, yeah, Bob, why don't you go see if you like San Diego? See if San Diego likes you.
Yeah.
And if so, we'll let you go. And that's exactly what happened. New manager of the San Diego Padres, Bob Melvin, one of the most beloved managers in the game.
I would have been hurt if it was Bochy. So I'm okay with this because that was the rumor.
That was the rumor.
It's going to be Bochy. I mean, the old guys are making a resurgence. Look at La Russa and Dusty and Melvin's 60 years old. This was a fantastic pickup for San Diego. I mean, this was just a steal for San Diego. They had gone with rookie managers the last 3 picks, and now they go with a proven veteran. If Melvin had been there, I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, he might even have a title under his belt. I mean, I think he's that great of a manager. He's even better as a personnel type of guy. He knows pitching, he knows hitting, he knows his players inside and out. And once he learns the San Diego team, they could be really, really dangerous. He's finally getting his opportunity. I think. I mean, because what he managed for Seattle, he managed for Arizona, he managed for the A's. He's finally getting that opportunity where it's like, Bob, what do you want? We'll go get it for you.
Yeah. Here's what your minimum payroll is, which is more than your maximum payroll ever in Oakland.
Probably double. I mean, it's it's pretty outrageous. So he's going to get that chance to spend other people's money and get pieces in place that he wants and people he wants to manage. And man, it's going to be a tight 3-team race next year. It was for half a season this year, and then San Diego fell off. But with Bob Melvin there, they're not going to do that. So
we both have A's fans in our lives because just being in the Bay Area, I do feel badly for them because even the hardcore ones who they know the game, they have to deal with knowing that in the end they're gonna let tons of players go. This one was a little bit of a slap in the face though, because the guy was signed. I don't know how many more years he had on his deal, but it was basically like, if you're a fan of the A's now, you're worried about them going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Dave Cavall is at Vegas hockey games tweeting, and you're like, come on, don't be a dick. And now the one glue or the one person that is like, oh, at least we have a manager who is respected and we don't have this carousel of players in and out. And they basically say, no, Bob, just go. We know you don't want to be here. Just go. We'll find somebody who makes less than half of what you make, and we'll sell it to the fans as like, we're the new young swinging A's. So I would just be so frustrated. And I'm so happy. Yeah. I really feel happy that the Giants are not like that, because the Giants have been like that in the past when we were growing up, where they were not going to be spending the money, and it was all going to be about if they could get, through the draft and these young players to blossom. But then they signed Barry, and that kind of changed the whole thing. But yeah, like I feel bad for them because they're gonna have to go through this thing where these guys they've been rooting for the last 2 or 3 years, they just know that they're going to be traded, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's brutal, and I am not an A's fan at all. I don't care for them. I just, and it probably has mostly to do with 89 is part of it.
Sure.
The other part is they're an American League club, and I'm just not an American League fan. There's a lot of American League players growing up that I just loved, like Dwight Evans, Wade Boggs, George Brett. I mean, just huge fans of those guys. But, that style of baseball wasn't always my thing with the DH. And now, I'm coming around as I get older, and it's like, yeah, okay, let's see the DH. I'm tired of watching Gossman go up there and try to hack away. So just give Buster Posey some breaks from behind the plate. Yeah. Let him just hit, 4 times a game. And
let's extend his career a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Give these guys a little more baseball life. But that being said, I am a huge advocate for the A's staying in Oakland. They need that stadium. I mean, that would be an outrageously awesome stadium. I mean, the renderings we've seen is really, really cool. They need to stay in Oakland. Them going to Vegas would just be, I mean, Oakland is getting hit left and right. They would have no professional team, right? I mean, after that would be it.
The talk is that they're trying to get a WNBA team in there, but yeah, the Warriors are technically the Bay Area's team, but they now play in San Francisco.
Right.
The Raiders are gone. The A's could really take over that town, and I think that's probably what they want. Now, here's the thing, though. The A's fans over the years, the reason why we don't go to the games is because stadium sucks. The reason why we don't go to the games is because the ownership doesn't invest in the team. The reason why we don't go to the games is because of whatever. They won't have that excuse, and they're going to have to fill up the park, right?
Yeah.
Because if the city is going to invest this money, The team's going to say, look, we want to be here now. The fan base is going to have to come out. And maybe now that it would just be a one team city, maybe that will happen, but they won't have any more excuses, I don't think.
Well, and the other thing too is a move to Vegas for a baseball team isn't just a move to Vegas for a baseball team. I mean, there's a AAA team that plays there now, the Aviators, and they've been playing there for a few years. They were the Area 51s a little while back, but yeah, and they've been there for a while. It is, if you've never been to Vegas in the summer, it's like standing on the sun. I mean, we have a place down there that we hit every couple of years, and so we're going this coming June, and we could have gone in July, but we're like, well, it's 116 every day in July, but it's only 109 in June, so we're going to go in June. So it would have to be. I mean, the team that plays in Vegas right now, the AAA team, they get a pretty decent draw, but their games start at like 7:15, 7:30 at night, because then it cools down to like 105. So I would think they would have to almost have an indoor type of stadium like Arizona. Because Arizona, same thing. It's the same heat. So that same type of design. So I'd have to really see the stadium before I thought, oh, this is a good move for Oakland, for the A's to go to Vegas. Because if you're going in there, and they will draw. If you go to Vegas, you will draw, because the casinos give out free everything to everything. So they're going to have massive amounts of tickets. Like, hey, everybody want to go to an A's game tonight? Here you go. Here's 15 tickets.
Yeah.
Just like the Raiders. I mean, and you get fans from all over the place in Vegas too. People come from all over the country and all over the world to go to Las Vegas. So they will fill the stadium. Won't necessarily be A's fans. There will be people watching baseball. But that's probably what you're going to get. So that's why I think they do need to stay in Oakland, because like you said too, they won't have any more excuses. The real A's fans will come out. They will start to they've got to build that trust back, though. That's the whole thing. And the only way to build that trust back is to get marquee talent. Build a beautiful stadium, get marquee talent. The Giants did that 7 years before they moved into what was it first called? SBC, right?
Pac Bell.
Pac Bell, that's right. Pac Bell, then SBC, then AT&T. So when they first moved into Pac Bell, they had marquee talent, and then they won the West, and they kept drawing fans, and they kept getting better players and signing great pitching and drafting great pitching and everything else. The A's have a tendency to draft good players, develop them, and trade them. And that is killing the fan base right now. And it's because they don't have anywhere to play. So I think as soon as they remedy that, things will turn around very quickly. And that's why I think they need to stay in Oakland.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. All right. So that'll be it from here when we come back next week. So next week, I'm actually out of town until Tuesday. So we'll have to figure out when we can come back next week.
Well, and the Rams and Niners play on Monday night next week. So
yeah, right.
We got that.
Right. So, So we will be back next week. We will let you know the day and time exactly when we figure that out. But for Brad, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.